Welcome to this Behaviour Bites course. This has been written specifically for you as teachers and leaders of children to help you become incredible school behaviour regulators and teachers of behaviour. The aim when you complete the course is that you have the tools, knowledge and awareness to feel confident leading your classroom and to create positive connections with children and yourself. There is no doubt that times have been tough recently. The landscape for children with regards to behaviour, well-being, mental health and regulation are certainly challenging at the moment. The backdrop of a national pressure on specialist placements, nationally poor attendance, the cost of living crisis, trauma of the pandemic, lack of funding in our schools and local services paints a difficult picture for us all. But let's also celebrate in the joy of what it is to be a child and the joy of teaching and working in education. Children love being at school for the sense of belonging and safety, but some find it more challenging than others. We hope that by completing this programme, you will have the best chance of enjoying your school career whilst providing our children with the most appropriate classroom support. This programme consists of 11 different modules delivered in bite-sized pieces of information. Bite 1 is an introduction to the course and to me, your trainer. In Bite 2 and 3, we will look at behaviour as a communication of need, diving into emotions, therapeutic approaches, polyvagal theory, and the importance of connection. In Bite 4, we will be looking at trauma in the classroom, introducing the window of tolerance and tools to support regulation in the classroom. Bite 5 is about creating a trauma-sensitive classroom and how to recognise the trauma responses of fight, flight, and freeze. In Bite 6, we learn about co-regulation and self-regulation techniques and strategies. In Bite 7, we will explore the differences of consequences versus punishments and the child's opportunities to learn about appropriate behaviour and the impact inappropriate behaviour has on themselves and others. Bite 8, we look at creating that strong classroom culture, looking at routines, rules, environment and getting that certainty in the room. Bite 9 is looking at restorative conversations, how to use them and how important they are in repairing and restoring relationships. Bite 10, we explore the shame and the emotional impact on children, how we use our verbal and body language. Finally, in Bite 11, we will explore our own emotional intelligence, how we lead ourselves and how we can support each other. Each recorded session is approximately 10 to 15 minutes long and is designed to give you a small piece of information about behaviour. At the end of each module, I will be giving you some tasks or activities to try. Between sessions, I would like you to have some open and brave conversations with colleagues back in school and take time to reflect on the things you have tried in the classroom. In today's Bite, we are going to talk a bit about me and my experience, and we are also going to discuss your why and look at the key ingredients you need to create a positive environment for behaviour. So here's a little bit about me. My name is Mandy Wilton. I have 30 years experience in education. I have taught in mainstream schools, special schools, alternative provision, both secondary and primary schools. I have extensive leadership experience. I have been a special educational needs coordinator, an assistant head teacher, a deputy head teacher, a head teacher, and most recently an executive head teacher for an alternative provision academy, which included primary and secondary pupil referral units, behaviour outreach services, hospital teaching services, home tuition services, and we ran early intervention programmes to reduce the risk of permanent exclusions. At the same time, I was also the executive head teacher of a secondary SEMH boys' school that was experiencing significant challenges. I have now set up my own education consultancy, which provides a range of services including training in the area of behaviour and supporting senior leaders in schools to develop strong school cultures. I am passionate about making sure we understand the root cause of a child's behaviour as well as understanding our own emotional responses as adults. We need to be self-aware enough to understand that how we behave also impacts how our children behave. We bring the weather into our classrooms, and this is something that we will be looking at throughout this course. The most important thing for us, as adults, working with children in our schools is to remember why we do the job we have chosen to do. I absolutely love this poem. It really resonated with me about why I chose to work in education. 100 years from now, it won't matter what kind of car I drove, what kind of house I lived in, how much money I had in the bank, nor what my clothes look like. But the world may be a little better because I was important in the life of a child. So I'd really like you to reflect on your why. What drew you to teaching? And do you recall what sparked your inspiration? What is it that motivates you to continue? This is a good point to pause the recording for a moment to reflect and consider this, and either jot it down on your phone, in your planner, or in a notebook. You can even discuss this as a group. From now on, when challenges arise, as they inevitably will, pull out this note and remind yourself of the reasons why you pursue this extraordinary and immensely fulfilling profession. Your why is your driving force, and if you keep it front and centre of your mind, it will keep you going, even when times feel tough. One of the most important things we need to do is change the way we look at a child and how they are behaving. This is one of my favourite quotes from a book written by Joe Brumner called Building a Trauma-Informed Restorative School. He says that when we view a child's behaviour through a different lens, we start to change from seeing a child in trouble to a child in struggle. We need to move away from thinking, what is wrong with you, to what has happened to you. There is another great book by Oprah Winfrey and Dr. Bruce Perry called What Happened to You? And if anyone is interested in knowing more about trauma, I highly recommend reading it. Behaviour is complex, and I am afraid I don't have all the answers. What I do know is that there are some key things we can do as professionals to create the right environment to help us understand the complexities of our children's behaviour. There is no off-the-shelf solution. We have to look deep into ourselves to really understand what is happening for us, as well as the children we are committed to educate and keep safe. There are many conversations nationally regarding behaviour at the moment, so let's add some context. Children are acting younger than their chronological age, displaying higher levels of aggression and inattention. I regularly hear frustration amongst teachers who are saying, these year 8s are acting like year 5s, or these year 11s are acting like year 7s. The pandemic has certainly disrupted the social and emotional development of millions of children. Childhood was not supposed to be experienced in small, tight areas with limited access to friends, family, and community. The same that school was not intended to be a virtual experience. In the absence of this nurturing social environment, children do not develop the social and emotional capacities to enable self-regulation, executive functioning, and self-reliance. In other words, children will appear younger than they are for some time to come. So how do we meet the needs of children with social and emotional learning needs? A therapeutic approach is my preference. This uses a relational, restorative and trauma-sensitive framework, but it is also one that is relentless, clear and consistent, delivered with compassion and empathy. I do not believe in punishments. I believe it is not our job to control behaviour, but to deeply understand it and teach it. So how do we do this? These are the key ingredients I believe you need to create the right environment for an empathetic and therapeutic approach to understanding and teaching behaviour. Curiosity, always be curious. If you are finding a child's behaviour difficult or confusing, stop and ask yourself, I wonder why is this child behaving in this way? Remember to tap into your why, and remember you are the adult, and don't allow yourself to dysregulate and respond unhelpfully. Ask yourself, what has happened to this child that is showing me such complex behaviour? Do we have enough information about this child? And have we engaged enough with the child and the family? We need to take time to consider what this child is trying to communicate to us. Next, we have empathy. Empathy is the ability to sit in another's shoes and imagine how something may feel to them. So connect with your empathy for the child and consider what it would be like to walk in their shoes. What trauma might they have experienced or be experiencing? They could be witness to an abusive relationship, a missing parent or partner, bereavement, divorce, serious illness, poverty, child abuse, or exploitation. Understanding what their life is like and walking in their shoes will engage your empathy for them. One of my favourite stories about empathy is about a boy who was always late to school and always getting told off or put in detention for being late. The school's head of year became very curious. He sat the boy down and asked him why he was always late. The boy said that he overslept a lot. The head of year became even more curious as he sensed that the boy was not telling him the whole truth. So he called the primary school of the boy's siblings to see if there was a pattern. The head teacher of the primary school explained that he saw this boy every morning because he dropped his two younger siblings off at their school. A further discussion came about as the primary school had expressed concerns that the boy's mother was rarely seen. The head of year met with the boy again and told him that he knew he was dropping his siblings at school. The boy explained that he did indeed drop them off. After some more questions, it came to light that the boy was embarrassed and ashamed. His mother was out all night drinking and was never up in the morning to take care of his younger siblings. The head of year showed real empathy for the boy and told him that he would do all he could to support him. The outcome from this empathy and curiosity was that a meeting was held with both schools and the mother to express their concerns. The mother took up the offer of support from a family worker, and she started taking the younger siblings to school, and the boy arrived regularly on time. The next key ingredient is relationships. Relationships are so important. How do staff in your schools develop relationships? Remember to build relationships. We need to use compassion and not control. We need connection before correction. We need to set clear expectations. I will be there for you. This is what I want from you, and you can expect this in return. The focus needs to be on problem solving, not control or compliance. And remember that relationships extend to parents as well as children. Next up is connection. Connection is the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued. This is from Brené Brown, Atlas of the Heart, which is a brilliant book about understanding emotions and their role in connection. How many of our children are not connected to themselves? How many teachers are not connecting with themselves either, and as a result, struggle to connect to their children? Current neuroscience research tells us that feelings of disconnection share the same neural pathways with feelings of physical pain. How many of our children experience this? An example I have of this was when I was working with a young boy in year 4. He had and was still experiencing significant trauma. He was so desperate for connection, but he had no idea how to do it with his peers or his teacher. His behaviour was extreme, constantly shouting and swearing. He would leave the class, wander the corridors and gather other children from different classes. They were afraid to say no to him. He was rude, he refused to engage, he constantly moved around the room. He could not connect despite being desperate for it. Our challenge as educators was to teach him how to connect. We worked with him to find out what the hooks were to connect with him and used these to model how to connect to others. We discovered he had a love of fishing and football, so I went to watch him play at the weekend. We also organised a fishing trip for him and 2 others in the class. It took time, but eventually a few adults connected with him. He began to trust us, and we were able to develop a regulation plan to help him regulate his behaviours. His friendship group grew with the support of his football coach and a shared fishing interest with other children. We are still on that journey with him, but we are getting there because we worked relentlessly to build that connection with him and his family. I will respect you by showing you care and love. I expect the same in return, and I will teach you and show you how. It is important that children in your class are respectful, but we need to teach them what that looks and feels like. Modelling respectful behaviours and pointing them out is essential. When a child is respectful, point out that behaviour so that they know for next time. When something isn't respectful, then pick it up without shaming anyone and model and teach what respect looks like. Up next is clarity. It is essential to be clear and consistent with your expectations. Children and adults need clarity. When you have clarity, you have safety. Children feel safe when they know exactly what is expected of them. Part of building clarity is acknowledging the times when you may get things wrong, and it's okay to get things wrong. What is important is that you model this to the children. This again helps to create that psychological safety in the classroom. Modelling this kind of conversation will enable the children in your class to acknowledge when they get things wrong, and that is okay too. Making mistakes and getting things wrong is how we learn. That applies to us as adults as well. Let's think about equity. We are all different, and it's important to give each child what they need to thrive. This is different to equality, which is giving everyone the same. A good example to illustrate this is wearing glasses. Not everyone in the class needs a pair, but some of us do to be able to see the board and learn. Similarly, some children will need more time from the teacher and some won't. Some may need more or less homework, and this is okay. This is about equity and not equality. Having clear boundaries with children, families and colleagues is essential. Communicating those boundaries is a skill. I explain what mine are and why I have them. I always tell my class, I am not your friend. I am here to teach you, but whatever happens, I will always be here for you. I make sure that I respect the boundaries of my children and colleagues too. If you can implement these key ingredients to your practice, you will be well on your way to creating calm in your classroom. Over the next couple of weeks, I would like you to work on the following things. 1. If you haven't already, think about your why. Discuss it with colleagues, friends, or your partner. Really try to connect, or in some cases, reconnect with why you do this job. Write it down and keep it with you. 2. Start connecting with your empathy and think about the behaviour you see in your school through the lens of what has happened to you, rather than what is wrong with you. See what this does to your own feelings and reactions. And 3. As a team, discuss the key ingredients I have just listed and how you think you are doing with these things in your school at the moment. This is not to be critical, but to be curious. You can only change things that you are aware of.